So the Democratic convention just ended this past week, and you're probably wondering, is he going to talk about Michelle Obama's speech or Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, what he said and everything, and Joe Biden and all that? No, actually not. All I have to say is just 1 to 2 sentences that I feel pretty much sum up the Democratic convention, which is this. While trying to paint Trump as the evil dictator that in reality they're ultimately seeking to become, the Democratic convention was just a collection of voices using flowery words to talk about their utopian vision to seize more control over our lives and continue stripping away our constitutional rights, which will be a detriment to the very people they claim to care about.
From the highways of America, here's the podcast where we talk politics, a little entertainment, some culture, and this and that, from the road to your ears. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
And welcome to another episode of Trend Chat. I am your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, whether on Facebook or Snapchat, it's at Trend Chat 24/7. And on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Brian L. Bledsoe. All right, that's a little smoother than before. So, yeah, so appreciate everyone coming in, listening. And if you're somewhat watching on YouTube, which I don't mention often, but yeah, we're on YouTube as well. And if it's just a picture though, it's not, you just hear, it's just the audio, and it's kind of weird because we haven't done, I think the last time we did any sort of video was, I don't know, it's been a while. And I understand doing video would it's not probably will help this podcast, but it's just the fact of me being on the road and the factors of trying to record and all of that. I mean, I know I do the Blexit Texas podcast, which is, you know, that's just video. And so, I mean, with that, but that's just video. So I don't handle any of the, you know, behind the scenes stuff on that podcast. That's just me basically coming on every Sunday, and that's it. This podcast is everything you hear is, you know, I'm involved in having to do everything really. And so it became very hard to try to do any sort of video and audio. And so I just had to stick with audio and maybe do the occasional video every now and then. Anyway, I just mentioned that because I just thought about YouTube and us being on there as well. So appreciate you listening. And I guess I should say right now, just, you know, like, share, and subscribe. You know, tell everyone that you know about this podcast, that you heard about this, you know, Trend Chat podcast, and we'll just continue to grow. But as of right now, this is episode 182, and we're on the countdown to 200, to where will probably at this moment be the end of this podcast. So, which will probably be around probably the end of this year or maybe the beginning of next year. So I'm not gonna get too much more into that. I talked about that in the last episode, but actually, in a way, I think I may need to go ahead and do the inventory update in a way, because not because. Well, there's some news, so I guess let's get to it. Oh, oh, hit the wrong button. Oh, so as far as the inventory goes, like I said, as far as I guess the pandemic supplies goes, nothing's really has changed. As I've gone to different places, most of the shelves are pretty much stocked, except for a couple of things. I think I mentioned a number of times where disinfectant spray is still very hard to find, disinfectant wipes. Those two in particular are pretty hard to find, or I guess hand wipes, like sanitizing hand wipes are still, like you can find hand sanitizer pretty easily. I've gone to a number of retail stores where now they don't even have the limit for hand sanitizer because they have so much now. And but that's really not what I wanted to get, to mention about this particular inventory update, because now you have tropical storms and hurricanes. This is hurricane season, and that is actually where, back when the whole pandemic started back in March, that was kind of like how it felt, as far as people panic buying all the toilet paper and water. And so this is more of the typical event that's going to happen with the hurricanes in the southern region and on the East Coast. And so you're going to have supplies dry up there really quickly again because of hurricanes. So that may affect everyone as well, on top of what's already going on with the pandemic. So I would just, with that in mind, you may want to, if there's still things that you're trying to get, like I said, whether it's disinfectant spray or wipes or whatnot, you may need to really, if you can't find it, definitely be more on the lookout if you're trying to find it in the next couple of months, because now you're going to have another factor in play with the hurricanes, whether some of these stores get totally demolished, or where they're totally, where people are going buying everything out of that store. Then we as truck drivers go back and replenish those stores, just like we did across the country during the pandemic. So yeah, I mean, it's nothing I've seen so far, unless you live down in those areas. But I guess I just want to give people somewhat of a heads up about that when it comes to just anything. It can affect any product, really. It just depends on what was hit and whatnot. So yeah, so I just want to put that out there right quick for you. So that's it. And I was gonna play the little sound again. I haven't coordinated my sounds to be smooth with that, mainly because I don't practice, to be completely honest with you. I'm doing it right now, and I probably won't do it again until the next episode. I need to practice so it can go smoothly. That being said, that's something I need to do while not talking on this podcast right now. But I do want to bring up so we're still in this pandemic, and we still are dealing with a lot of government officials and municipalities and just states and federal government and all over, where we have these mandates, and then you have some of these a lot of the states are still on lockdown, and you have certain places that can't be open, and then certain places are open, and I mean, you already had with Pastor John MacArthur, with as far as churches go, and him being out in California, and him basically defying the state of California and continuing to have in-person church service, and so you're seeing a lot of this, across the country, whether it's something that's been in the mainstream, or at least has been highlighted with Pastor MacArthur, or just either other people that you don't hear about. And this whole pandemic has really shown me something I wasn't surprised by, but it just where you have people who are very, you have a lot of people who are very trusting of our government, and even when it comes to the mask mandates and whenever a vaccine come out, where I would not be surprised you have people who would be in favor of mandatory vaccines, the mandatory, vaccinations of everyone in the state. I'm pretty sure you have the same people that would want that on a federal level, and I would hope President Trump would not do that, would not, agree to anything like that. But one thing when it comes to this, for me, especially amongst Christians, I guess, I feel like this just overall, I guess, acceptance of big government, I feel kind of comes from this whole, what we call, I guess, a seeker sensitive churches that we have, and this is not just for churches, but I'm just kind of focusing on churches where they, have this method as far as, because you hear it in a lot of Christian books where it's pretty much they have the belief that people are generally good, which when you read the Bible, that is totally opposite, where our hearts are deceitfully wicked, and we are I feel like we as Christians as a whole seem like have bought in the sense that we're everybody just good people, and they won't use their power to seize all sorts of control over us or want absolute power, because most people are generally good people, so we should have no problem giving them all the power that to do what needs to be done, which, like I said, that biblically that does not that's not the case. But like I said, because of that, because this whole notion and not really following what it says in the Bible, that a lot of people, and Christians included, are just have no problem in giving government as much power, unlimited power if they want, because they feel like, for the most part, most people are going to do the right thing, which is history has has shown that's not the case, especially when you give government so much power. But that's where we're at right now. And so you're having, and talking about Pastor John MacArthur, you have a lot of Christians who are actually speaking out against him because of what he was doing. And you can disagree, and you may not want to open your church. I mean, that should be your choice, and I think that should be the issue, because it's not so much about whether you individually as a church, or if you want to open it or not. It should not be a mandate given from the government. That's the problem. If you should have the choice if you want to open it or not. I mean, mainly because the government is not over the church. I mean, if that is definitely something I think we've definitely have forgotten as Christians when it comes to our relationship with the government. And it's not their place to tell us as Christians in particular, like we can't meet or worship or dictate how we are going to do our business for the most part. I mean, because we try to follow the laws unless it goes against the word of God. And we're getting to the point to where you're hearing some of these governors, or some of these state officials where they're just like, we're just going to close church indefinitely. And that's no. That should not be the case. Not only just because, because it's regardless of whether we're talking about churches, just in general, that shouldn't be the case. Because we've gotten to the point that whether we're talking about church or anything, that we need to just assess the risk of whatever. Like as of right now, we're talking about coronavirus, but we should assess the risk and have people make the choice for themselves what they're going to do. Stop shutting down businesses and everything like that, and have people make their own choices. But we're not doing that right now. So, and I don't know if one thing has really showed to me with all this that is going on is that, well, one thing I've already knew, but a lot of people really rather have the sense of security and safety like that. I already knew that people normally value security and safety over liberty and freedom. I just say that because that's the name of the podcast with Blexit, Texas, is liberty and freedom. But I already knew that people already, put that above their liberty and freedom because they really don't value their freedom. They don't really think about it because they haven't had to really fight for it. It's just something that always been there. And so it's something you're not going to really miss until you don't have it anymore. Even though it's been chipped at little by little throughout the decades, but still, it's something that where once it's totally gone, that's when you're like, oh, well, we had it so good and we just gave this away. But I already knew that's where most people really, value, as long as the government taking care of me, I'm fine. I'd rather give them more control than me having any personal responsibility. And so, but I didn't know how much to where people just really don't care about it. Where they're just willing to just take everything away. Yeah, tell me where I can go. Tell me when I can eat, when I can get out of my house, and whenever. You have a vaccine? All right, just stick it in me, and then just let me keep doing what whatever I'm doing, and just keep me entertained. Let me watch my NFL and NBA. But take everything else away from me, I'll be just fine. Like I said, until you get to the point to where whatever an individual wants to actually do something that the government really don't want you to do, and then they realize like, oh, I wanted to do this particular activity, but the government won't let me do it. And now you all of a sudden feel like, oh, I guess I should have actually, valued my rights beforehand. And by that time, it'll be too late. So
this is Trend Chat.
Hey guys, this is Morgan Zegers, the founder and CEO of Young Americans Against Socialism. We are a nonprofit organization working to preserve a free, fair, and prosperous America for generations to come, all by equipping our generation with the truth about socialism. If you're interested in watching our educational videos, donating to the cause, joining the Ask Coalition, or becoming a contributor, you can do all of these things at fightsocialism.org. We hope you'll join us in this crucial fight for the future of our great country. Thanks!
Hey, it's Lawrence Jones with Fox News. Check out Trend Chat with my brother Brian Bledsoe.
So you want to keep America great, but you don't know where to go to get some Trump-centric gear? Check out TrumpMug.com. And if you put in the code TRENDCHAT, you get 10% off. So at TrumpMug.com, they have flags, coins, mugs, of course. So go to TrumpMug.com, put in the code TRENDCHAT, get 10% off. Again, TrumpMug.com with the code TRENDCHAT for 10% off.
All right, so I guess in going along with this pandemic, I guess another thing that I hope people learn from this is that, and this goes for not only individuals but businesses as well, is that so with everything, you have unemployment, skyrocketing because of lockdown and everything that's been going on, and you've heard business after business that have declared bankruptcy, and some that are not coming back at all after this is over. And this is just a general statement, but I will hope people would, a lesson they will take from this. Now, hopefully this is a historic event, but I don't want to say when something like this happens again, because I don't think, and I will hope something like this doesn't happen again, at least for a long time. But regardless, if we have something like a global pandemic that happens, everyone has emergencies in their lives, and the businesses do too. And I will hope this would serve as a lesson when it comes to making sure that you have your debt in order and don't accrue too much debt, or at least have some saving for a rainy day. And this right here would have been a really rainy day. And I would hope that people would learn from this, that maybe you should have more in the bank, more in your savings. And like I said, this goes for the individuals as well as businesses, because as well as you hear a lot of people that are not able to pay rent, pay their bills, that goes the same for a lot of these businesses that weren't able to do the same because they were in debt. And so I think, I know these are historic times, as I said, but people should really take this into account for once we get out of this, to try to watch your spending. And that goes for government as well. I know they're not going to listen to this, and I'm somewhat pessimistic. I don't think, we as a people are going to really take heed to this either. But I'm just saying that now, because that's what we're seeing out of, especially a lot of these businesses that are declaring bankruptcy, because they were already in debt and they were already behind. And so when you have something like this hit, it was too much for them to bear, and then they had to declare bankruptcy or just go out of business altogether. So, but in talking about the just businesses in general, and and government as well, I know when we talk about as I've talked about the mandates that is going on from whether it's state or local, governments and all of them instituting all of these mandates, especially I guess in specific, mask mandates and whatnot. And a lot of major companies especially have just announced themselves where they're requiring everyone to wear a mask and everything like that. And I know there's plenty of people who are against, as far as wearing masks and stuff like that. And like I said, I've mentioned before, as far as someone like myself, I have no problem wearing a mask. My problem is the mandates. And so if any of these companies decided they wanted to make masks mandatory on their own, that's up to them as a private business. That I have no problem with. Now, pretty much all major retailers have just said, masks are mandated. And a lot of times they just said, because of our local government has instituted mask mandates, that's why we're doing it. Or some just said we're going to do it regardless of the local laws or mandates. Now, a lot of these companies, I know a lot of times they'll say for our safety. And don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure that's part of it as well. But don't forget, there's another aspect to this, because a lot of these companies are going so far with the mandates, whether they agree with it or not themselves as a company. They're going to do it mainly because of liability issues, because we're such a litigious society. I mean, if you go to like a Walmart or a Target and they don't have a mask mandate or some sort, and they get sick, they'll be quick to want to sue that company. Like I said, whether it's a Walmart or a Target, they'll be quick to sue, even if it was their own fault, if or whatever reason, whether it's their fault or whatnot, just because that store didn't mandate a mask, they will probably be held liable, because there'll be a lawyer just quick to want to join that lawsuit to get a nice little payday. And like I said, we see this all the time, where we have all these lawsuits for all sorts of reasons, and a lot of times some are worse, are worthy lawsuits, and some you just see like it just kind of go back to that notion, that thought of personal responsibility, where they're not taking any responsibility for anything, and they're just making the company responsible for every single thing that happens. And so, I mean, if we didn't have, like I said, we didn't have a society where we just sue for every little thing. Also, if we didn't have judges that went along with this, where they would actually reward people for suing for every little thing. And I mean, because you have a lot of judges out there who, one, will look at companies where they're like, well, they got the money, they can pay for it, and they go right along with whatever these lawsuits are going on or whatever. I mean, that's just a generalization, I'm just saying, but if we didn't have, if a lot of these lawsuits for some of these silly reasons, if they just were dismissed or didn't get anywhere, then a lot of companies will feel like they don't have to basically, go overboard when it comes to any sort of, whether it's mandates. I mean, it's kind of the reason why we have so many instructions and so many little signs on whether it's a bottle of shampoo or something like that. It's because all these companies are scared of being sued. And so they put down some of the most mundane things on a product, because either they're trying to get ahead of someone wanting to sue for that reason, or they've already been sued for that reason, and they put it on that, whatever that warning is, on the product. So, all the stuff that I'm saying is funny, because when I'm saying I don't see any way of this turning around, because I just feel like it's just getting worse. And with this whole pandemic, I feel like you're going to have, plenty of lawsuits. And in this sense, lawsuits, I hope, come through against some of these, government officials, where they really overstep their bounds as far as infringing on our rights. Now, those type of lawsuits I think are worthwhile as far as protecting our civil rights. But that's another thing we'll have to wait for once we get to the end of all this, whenever that is. So anyway, there's one other thing I wanted to mention, and I'll get to it after another break, and after that I think we're gonna have one more break, and then I guess we'll see after that. Anyway, let's hear a word from Expressions.
This is Lacey Williams, the founder and president of Expressions Magazine, letting you know that you can order our quarterly magazine and support female conservatives by visiting express-conservatism.com, or you can follow us on social media. On Instagram with the username of expressions_conservemag, or on Twitter with the handle of @express_conserve. Get your copy today.
Hello, Trend Chat fans. The Founding Project invites you to experience our latest resource to take civics to citizens, TFP's new website. Visit us at www.thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with The Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Join us today.
What's going on, folks? This is Colin Noir, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
This is Trend Chat.
All right, so I saw this, an article from the Republican Party of Texas where the New York Times accused the Texas GOP of conspiracy theories because of a slogan. So, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, who has been on the show a couple of times, has been elected as the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, and since then, one of the changes for the party is this new slogan, where it's "We Are the Storm." That's the name of the slogan, and so I don't know. So apparently, that slogan has been used from other, other websites or other accounts. And I think it's one from, at least the New York Times is saying that it's come from QAnon. And if you don't know about that, I mean, I've heard of it. I've seen some stuff connected to that, and I guess the New York Times really don't like them because they see that connection somewhat because of that slogan. That now they're saying that the Texas GOP is, believing in conspiracy theories, and also I know President Trump has mentioned some things, or at least retweeted some stuff from people who follow QAnon. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but my thing is that, well, one thing, whether it comes to whatever you call conspiracy theories, I mean, honestly, the word conspiracy theory has kind of been watered down because it seems like everything is a conspiracy theory in a way. But whenever you talk about something really outlandish, whether I believe the conspiracy theory or not, for me personally, I'm not surprised if I found out that particular conspiracy theory is true. So I may not believe it, but if it turns out that it's true, it doesn't shock me, put it that way. Because for me, this kind of goes back to what I mentioned at the beginning. The depravity of us as humans has no bounds, because, as I mentioned before, we're a fallen people. We are sinful people. Our hearts are deceitfully wicked. So if there was some sort of and there's a horrible atrocity that is happening that has been considered a conspiracy theory, and then all of a sudden found out to be true, as sad as it would be, regardless of whatever it is, it wouldn't shock me, because we are capable of great evil. I mean, that shouldn't shock anyone if you look at history. So, but it's funny to me is that, liberals are just quick to claim anything conspiracy theory that makes, that puts progressives or Democrats or liberals, that put them in a negative light. They're quick to want to dismiss it as that's nonsense, that's conspiracy theory. Yet they have the same the same thought over anything that will put a Republican or conservative in a negative light. Their standard is just as much as, or even less than, a lot of these conspiracy theories that they're saying that are out there. If it's something that makes Trump look bad, or conservative look bad, their standard is, it doesn't take much for them to believe whatever it is as fact. And that is coming from the so-called objective media, your CNNs, your ABCs, your CBS and whatnot, your mainstream media. So just wanted to say that, and I know one thing I saw probably about a week ago, and where I saw this Black Lives Matter leader in Chicago, where she was justifying looting, where it doesn't matter because she doesn't care, because in her mind that's reparations, and that shouldn't shock anyone in a sense, because we've seen ever since all of these riots that's been looting that been going on, where they just tend to want to justify it by any means just to continue doing what they want to do. So now they're seeing that reparations. And I feel like for decades, I feel like that's kind of been the goal. Just take whatever they can and see it as some sort of, vehicle for reparations. So whether it's through government by taking as much possible, regardless, whether it's welfare or whatever, just whatever, as much as we can get from the government, we are owed that. That's how I think, especially people in Black Lives Matter would see it, that they feel like we are owed whatever we can get. If we can't get outright reparations, then we'll take whatever we can take. So if it's from the government, whether they're giving us, whether it's programs or just outright money, if we get that, great. And if we just have to just rob and steal, that's still considered reparations. And I feel like that's, as this, leader in the Black Lives Matter in Chicago put it, I feel like that's where, that's basically how they think. So, but one thing I want to bring back to what I mentioned before is that, I do a podcast every Sunday on Blexit Texas Facebook page. It's me and Harper Price. And one thing, as far as myself being involved with Blexit Texas, is that we need to have an alternative in the black community. And I think that, that's what Blexit is to Black Lives Matter and, movement for Black Lives and all these other Marxist organizations that are out there and that have been out there for decades and just under different names. And it's good to have an alternative in the community, and I will hope Blexit to continue to grow, and as an advisor to continue to help out any way I can. So, like I said, it's on the Blexit Texas Facebook page every Sunday. Actually, we plan to have Brandon Tatum, who has been on here a couple of times. We plan to have him on for August 23rd. I think, that's the day we're posting this episode. So you may be listening to this and that may be going on, but you can listen to this and at another time, or listen, either way, it's there. Like, if you like, share, and subscribe, especially if you subscribe, then you would know you have, whatever time you feel comfortable to listen to this podcast. So that's another incentive for you to subscribe, whether it's on Spotify, iHeartRadio, the podcast outlet of your choice that we're on, at least. So now, I guess one last thing I wanted to mention before we go is that to kind of talk about movies in a little bit, because I saw this article about a reboot of a movie that was made back in the 80s. But anyway, I don't know if you remember. I forgot the name of the original. It was like 2 Men and a Baby or 3 Men and a Baby, but it was made back in the 80s. So they're looking to reboot that movie, and I don't know, for some reason that got my interest, because for one, they already cast one of the men, and that's going to be Zac Efron. It's going to be one of the 3 men. And Zac Efron, if you don't know, he was in I guess, like High School Musical. That's the one I can pick out, I guess, if you got kids from Disney or something. You see him on there. Well, he was on there. He played that Ted Bundy movie I think it was on Netflix. And he also played in Baywatch, which is, I almost walked out of that movie. Like, I normally don't walk out of movies. I can normally find something interesting regardless of how bad it is, or just watch it for how bad it is and see how bad it can get. But Baywatch, I was close to walking out. I mean, like I said, I don't walk out. I've only walked out of one movie ever, and that was a movie called Red Line, and it was like a Fast and Furious knockoff made back in, I don't know, 2000 something. It had Eddie Griffin in it, but it was just so bad to where I didn't even care how bad it was. I really felt like there was nothing interesting I could find out of it, and I just left. But that's the only movie I ever walked out of. Anyway, Baywatch, that wasn't that good of a movie, but Zac Efron was in it, so he's one of the men of the 3 men and whatever baby that they have. And I was just thinking, as far as casting goes, I don't know why, it's just something that I was thinking about, that given in this time of where representation is just so important, especially amongst people in Hollywood, that everyone gotta represent everyone and gotta be so woke and everything. And I'm just thinking, 3 men, all right, you already got your straight, right? I guess he's gonna be straight. He may play he can't play a gay character because he's not gay unless he comes out to be gay or something. So you already have a straight white male in Zac Efron. So now you got 2 more roles. And so I'm thinking the other 2 guys are going to be gay. One's going to be a person of color. You're going to have 2 gay guys, 1 white, maybe another white guy, or maybe 2 people of color that are gay, or one of them's going to be gay, or maybe one of them is trans, something like that. Given that it's Disney, they might not go the whole trans route, maybe, or maybe they're really trying to push the issue, and maybe they might actually get a trans person and try to really, challenge the gender roles. As far as, I mean, this is called 3 Men and a Baby. I'm surprised even saying that. It's probably not called 3 Persons and a Baby or something like that. But yeah, so it could be, I'm just thinking it's going to be something like that. And I would not be surprised, as far as, the baby, that it's going to be, that they probably would have some sort of dialogue about, or whether it's a boy or a girl, or should they even call it a boy or girl, or talk about gender fluidity and all of that. And all that's probably going to be in the movie. And so anyway, I don't know. That was just something that I was thinking about. But so we're going to end it there. I think this that's a good place to end it, in a way, I guess. So again, like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate everyone listening. And so what? Nope. Actually, stop the music. Stop the music. Stop the music. Stop the music. We have not, because we definitely want to do this. So we have had our let's make sure we pull this up. Normally I would just let this go, but I got to do our, what is it? Got to make sure we got to shout out the locations this time. We definitely got to do it this time for a particular reason. So Now let's go. Let's get the music. So, because, yep, okay. I mean, if I'm just gonna stop the ending for this, it better be good. But yeah, we gotta do the locations, even though I literally just forgot about it. But we gotta do it now and we're gonna go through. We're just gonna do. I guess let's just start with the cities. So, Lucknow, India. That's number 10, and then going from there. So, St. Peters, Missouri, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Lincoln, Nebraska, St. James, Michigan, Summerall, Mississippi, Siena, India, Waco, Nebraska, Greer, South Carolina, Brisbane, Australia. Now, those are the cities. Now, if you're paying attention, that's a reason why I wanted to talk about this. I want to make sure I talk about these locations. But we're gonna go back. We're going to the countries now. So now we have Canada, France, Australia, India with 21%, and obviously United States at 71% listenership to this podcast, Trend Chat. So anyway, nope, stop that music now. Because reason why I wanted to bring that up, because we just started in India. We started on a service in India about a week ago. And from that, like I said, there were 2 cities in India that was already on the list. And India accounted for 21% of the listenership. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that, because I want to say, hey, everyone in India, if you're listening to this, thank you for listening to Trend Chat. So I definitely didn't want to forget that. So yeah, and it's really surprising. And like I said, when I found out that we're on a service in India and then saw the numbers for India, like a day afterwards, it was just, wow. Okay. So yeah. And I also seeing Australia on there, which is ironic because I was at a Trump boat parade and met someone that said she was from Australia and she moved to Texas in 2 years ago. And so, it's just funny seeing that. I mean, I'm guessing it wasn't them. I don't think they flew back down to Australia just to listen. But maybe they told someone, because I did give them my card. And so maybe they, told some friends down in Australia, hey, listen to this guy. I'm not even going to try to do an Australian accent. So listen to this guy, Brian. We met him in Texas. Listen to his podcast. Told some friends down in Australia. And now they're, I'll see them on, as far as the locations so anyway, I just had to say that. Okay, now we can start the music back again as far as the ending, because now this is the end. And so I appreciate everyone listening, especially, as I mentioned, Australia, Canada, France, all the states, all the cities I just mentioned. Again, if you want to hear your city and state, tell your friends and family, and maybe you're here there, their city on the next episode. So like, share, subscribe. All, your favorite podcast outlets, we're available. So until next time, we'll chat with you later.